Hello, welcome back to my channel. I'm really happy that you support and watch me.
My name is Morgan Hale, and for 3 years, my own husband tried to make me believe I was losing my mind. He didn't do it with cruel words or obvious tricks. He did it with pills, with food, with patience, and with a smile that never once wavered. And I swallowed every single lie because I loved him, because I trusted him, because the man standing at the altar 5 years ago looked into my eyes and promised to protect me until death do us part. I just never thought he would be the one trying to make that death happen. This is my story. And if you're watching this, it means I finally made it out. So hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications, because what I'm about to tell you will make your blood run cold. And trust me, you won't believe how it ends. It started small. So small I didn't even notice. Little things. I would put my keys on the kitchen counter, turn around to grab my purse, and they would be on the table. I asked Derek about it once, laughing, thinking I was just tired from my shifts at the bookstore. He looked at me with those soft brown eyes and said, "Morgan, you put them on the table. I watched you do it." I laughed it off, but a seed planted itself in the back of my mind. Then came the shadows. I started seeing movement in the corner of my eye, dark shapes that disappeared when I turned my head. I told Derek one night over dinner. He put down his fork, reached across the table, and took my hand. "Morgan, I think you need to see someone. This isn't normal." Dr. Richard Voss had an office on the third floor of a quiet medical building downtown. His walls were covered with diplomas. His voice was smooth like honey. At the end of the hour, he leaned back and said the words that changed my life. "Mrs. Hale, I'm diagnosing you with early-onset schizophrenia. With medication and therapy, you can live a relatively normal life." Relatively normal. Those two words echoed in my head as Derek drove me home. He held my hand the whole way, telling me everything would be okay. He had already called my sister Paige and told her the news. He had already talked to my boss and explained I would need to reduce my hours. He had already done everything, and I sat there, numb, wondering when exactly I had stopped being a person and started being a patient. The pills came in a small orange bottle. Risperidone, 2 milligrams, twice a day. Derek set an alarm on his phone. Every morning and evening he appeared with a glass of water and that orange bottle, his smile patient and kind. I hated the way the pills made me feel. Foggy. Slow. Like I was watching my own life through a dirty window. But Derek said that was normal. "The side effects will get better," he promised. I was patient. For 3 years I was patient. The hallucinations got worse. Or at least, that's what I thought. I would wake up in the middle of the night and see figures standing at the foot of the bed. Dark, silent shapes that just watched. I would scream, and Derek would turn on the lights, and there would be nothing. "It's the disease progressing, Morgan," he would say, holding me while I shook. "We might need to increase your dosage." The dosage increased, then increased again. By the second year, I was taking 4 different medications. Derek kept them all in a locked cabinet in the bathroom. He said it was for my safety. I was too foggy to argue, too tired, too busy trying to remember what day it was. I stopped seeing my friends. Chelsea Brooks called once, sounding worried. "Morgan, you haven't been to book club in months." I tried to explain about my diagnosis, about how tired I was. She offered to visit, but Derek intercepted the call. He told her I was having a difficult episode and needed rest. He told everyone that, my coworkers, my neighbors, my own sister Paige, who only called on holidays. He built a wall around me, brick by brick, and I didn't even see it happening. But here's the thing about sanity. When you're fighting to keep it, you don't notice the small inconsistencies. You don't notice that Derek always insists on making your coffee, your tea, your dinner. You don't notice that he never lets you pour your own glass of water. You don't notice that the hallucinations only happen after you eat, after you drink, after you take those pills he so carefully measures out. The breaking point came on a Tuesday. Derek had his weekly poker game and left at 6. I was alone in the kitchen, making a sandwich, when I dropped the butter knife. I bent down to pick it up and saw it. A small plastic bag, wedged behind the trash can. I pulled it out, my hands shaking. Inside were tiny white crystals. Not medication, not anything I recognized. I didn't know what it was, but I knew Derek had put it there. And for the first time in 3 years, a crack appeared in the fog. I hid the bag in my robe pocket. That night, while Derek was at poker, I sat in the dark living room, and I thought. Really thought. For the first time in years, my mind felt clear. I thought about the pills, the food, the way Derek never ate the same things I ate, the way he watched me every time I took my medication, his eyes sharp, focused, almost hungry, the way he had isolated me from everyone. How convenient it was that my episodes always happened right before I was supposed to see someone, go somewhere, do something. And then I thought about the house. Our house. A beautiful Victorian on Elm Street that belonged to my grandmother. She left it to me in her will, along with a small trust fund. Derek had suggested we move in after the wedding. He had renovated everything. And now, sitting in the dark, I realized he had never asked me to sign anything, never mentioned putting his name on the deed. But he had been handling the finances. For 3 years, I had been too medicated to care. I didn't sleep that night. When Derek came home at midnight, smelling of beer, he found me awake. His smile faltered for just a second, just a fraction of a second. But I saw it. "Morgan, what are you doing up? Did you take your evening medication?" I couldn't sleep. I was thinking about Grandma's house, about the deed. His eyes narrowed, almost imperceptibly. "Morgan, you need to rest. You're not thinking clearly. This is exactly what Dr. Voss warned us about. Paranoia. I just want to see the deed, Derek. That's all." He laughed, a soft, patronizing laugh. "Of course, sweetheart. Everything is fine. Now come to bed. I'll get you water and your pills." I went to bed. I took the pills, but I didn't swallow them. I tucked them under my tongue and spat them into my hand when he turned off the light. I waited until his breathing slowed, then slipped out and flushed them down the toilet. It was the first night in 3 years I didn't take his poison, and I stayed awake until dawn, my mind clearer than it had been in years, planning my next move. The next morning, I pretended. I let Derek make my coffee, my toast. And when he left for work, I poured the coffee down the sink, threw the toast away, and called my sister. Paige answered, surprised. "Morgan, Derek said you were having a rough week." "Paige, I need you to listen carefully. I need you to come to the house. Today. And bring a lawyer." There was a long silence on the other end. I could hear her breathing, could picture her sitting in her kitchen 2 hours away, her coffee growing cold. "Morgan, you're scaring me. What's going on?" "I think Derek is poisoning me. I think he's been drugging me for 3 years. I think he's trying to drive me crazy so he can take Grandma's house. And I need proof before he realizes I know." Another silence. Then, her voice barely a whisper. "I'll be there in 2 hours." She arrived with Marcus Stone, a lawyer she knew from her divorce. Tall, silver hair, eyes that missed nothing. He wore a charcoal suit and carried a leather briefcase that looked older than I was. I told them everything. The pills, the food, the isolation, the plastic bag. Marcus listened, his face growing darker with every word. He didn't interrupt. He didn't judge. He just listened. When I finished, he leaned forward and said, "Mrs. Hale, what you've described is medical abuse and financial exploitation. But we need evidence. Hard evidence. Do you still have that plastic bag?" I showed him the crystals. He pulled on latex gloves, sealed them in an evidence bag, and labeled it with the date and time. Then he asked about my medical records, my prescriptions, my bank accounts. I didn't know any of it. Derek had handled everything. But Marcus had a plan, and Paige had tears streaming down her face as she held my hand and said, "I'm so sorry, Morgan. I'm so sorry I believed him. I'm so sorry I didn't come sooner." I didn't blame her. Derek was good. He was very, very good. And I had believed him too. Part 2. The hunter becomes the hunted. Marcus's plan was simple in theory, dangerous in practice. I had to keep pretending. I had to keep acting like the confused, medicated wife Derek thought he had created. While I did that, Marcus would investigate. He would pull my medical records, trace the prescriptions, find out if Dr. Voss was in on it. But I couldn't just sit and wait. I needed my own proof. So I started paying attention. Every morning, Derek made my coffee. Every morning, he turned his back while he poured it, his body blocking my view. I never noticed before. Now I watched. I memorized the angle of his shoulders, the slight pause before he turned around with my cup. I bought a small hidden camera online. Paige helped me set it up, disguised as a digital clock on the kitchen counter. It recorded to a cloud account she controlled. For 3 days, I pretended. I smiled. I thanked Derek for my coffee. I swallowed my pills under my tongue and flushed them when he wasn't looking. And every night, Paige and I reviewed the footage in her car down the street, our breath fogging the windows. On the 3rd morning, we saw it. Derek turned his back, reached into his pocket, and dropped something into my coffee. A small white powder that dissolved instantly. Then he stirred it, turned around, and handed me the cup with that same patient smile. My hands shook as I watched the video. Paige was crying. I wasn't. I was done crying. Marcus sent the footage to a private lab along with the crystals. The results came back 48 hours later. The crystals were pure LSD. The powder was a mixture of LSD and a powerful dissociative called DMX. Both caused hallucinations, paranoia, confusion, and memory loss. In other words, every single symptom I had been treating for 3 years. And the pills? Marcus had a pharmacist analyze them. They were real medications, but dangerously high dosages, combinations no responsible doctor would prescribe together. All from Dr. Voss, filled at a pharmacy Derek's cousin owned. We had proof of the drugs, we had proof of the tampering, but we still needed to know why. Marcus pulled the property records. The house was in my name only, but Derek had been paying the bills. For 3 years, he had been building a case that I was mentally incompetent, that I needed a guardian. And who better than my loving, devoted husband? The plan was almost elegant in its cruelty. Drive me crazy, document everything, get me declared legally incompetent, take control of my assets, the house, the trust fund, everything. And then, probably, an accident, a fall, an overdose, something tragic but explainable, something that would leave Derek Hale a wealthy widower. I wanted to scream. I wanted to run to the police, but Marcus stopped me. We have evidence of the drugging, but we don't yet have evidence of the conspiracy. We don't have proof that Dr. Voss was in on it, or that Derek planned to have you declared incompetent. Without that, he could claim he was just a concerned husband. We need the whole picture. So I waited. I pretended. And I planned. The opportunity came sooner than expected. Derek announced that Dr. Voss wanted a progress evaluation. He said it like good news, but I knew better. This was where they would document my deterioration, build the case for my incompetence, and I would let them. But not the way they expected. I prepared for 2 days. I studied the real symptoms of schizophrenia. And then I did the opposite. I was sharp, clear, articulate, but careful. I didn't accuse. I didn't confront. I simply didn't play the part. The appointment was Thursday afternoon. Derek drove me, his hand on my knee, his voice soft. Just be honest with Dr. Voss, Morgan. Tell him everything. I smiled and nodded, the good little patient. But inside, I was ice. Dr. Voss's office was the same. Diplomas, leather notebook, honey voice. He asked about my sleep, my hallucinations, my paranoia. I answered with perfect clarity. No hallucinations, no paranoia, no confusion. Sleeping well, eating well, feeling better than ever. Dr. Voss frowned. He flipped through his notebook, his brow furrowing. That's interesting, Mrs. Hale. Your husband mentioned increased episodes. Difficulty distinguishing reality. He was quite concerned. Was he? I asked, my voice mild. That's strange. I've been feeling wonderful. In fact, I've been thinking about going back to work full time, maybe reconnecting with old friends. Derek has been so protective, hardly lets me out of the house. But I'm feeling much stronger now. Dr. Voss's pen stopped moving. He looked up, and for the first time, I saw doubt in his eyes. Are you taking your medication as prescribed? Every day. Derek is very diligent about that. He never misses a dose. He's quite attentive. The doubt in his eyes deepened. He asked a few more questions, his tone shifting, becoming more careful, more probing. When the session ended, he didn't schedule a follow-up. He said he would consult with my husband and reassess my treatment plan. I smiled and thanked him. But I knew. I had planted a seed of doubt, and I knew Derek would be furious. He was. In the car, his grip on the steering wheel was white-knuckled, his jaw tight. What did you say to him? He called me after you left. He said you seemed different. Too clear. Like you weren't sick at all. Did you stop taking your medication? I take them every day, Derek. Just like you give them to me. I turned to look at him. His eyes were dark, frantic, searching my face for something he couldn't find, and mine were steady, cold, clear. Maybe I'm just getting better. Wouldn't that be wonderful? He didn't answer. He drove the rest of the way home in silence. And that night, he doubled my medication. He watched me swallow every pill, his eyes hard, unblinking, and I swallowed them, because I needed him to believe I was still under his control. Just a little longer. But Derek was getting desperate. I could feel it. He started calling Dr. Voss daily, his voice low and urgent when he thought I couldn't hear. He started going through my things when I showered, searching for proof I was relapsing. He even suggested I check into a facility for a few weeks, for my own safety. I knew what that meant. A psychiatric hold. The first step toward legal incompetence. The first step toward losing everything. I couldn't let that happen. So I accelerated the plan. Marcus had been digging into Derek's finances. What he found was worse than we thought. Derek was in deep debt. Gambling debts, credit card debts, loans from dangerous people. Over $200,000. The people he owed were not patient. He needed my grandmother's house. Soon. And he was running out of time. But there was more. Marcus found emails. Dozens of emails between Derek and Dr. Voss, going back 3 years. They discussed my progress, my episodes, my deterioration. And in the recent ones, they discussed the next steps. The facility, the competency hearing, the guardianship. It was all there, in black and white, 2 men conspiring to destroy my life while pretending to save it. We had everything. The drug evidence, the financial motive, the conspiracy, the emails. It was enough to put them both away for years. But Marcus wanted one more thing. He wanted Derek on record. He wanted Derek to admit everything on tape, where he couldn't deny it, couldn't spin it, couldn't lie his way out. And I knew exactly how to do it. I spent 3 days preparing. I studied Derek's patterns, his weaknesses, his fears. I knew he was desperate. I knew he was running out of time. And I knew what would make him reckless, make him slip, make him say things he never would have said otherwise. He had to believe he was winning. He had to believe I was breaking. He had to believe that after 3 years of careful planning, his victory was finally within reach. So I gave him what he wanted. I started relapsing. It began small. I woke up screaming about shadows in the corner. I forgot simple things, like where I put my shoes, what day it was, whether I had eaten. I stared at Derek with wide, frightened eyes and whispered that I didn't know what was real anymore. And every time, he was there, comforting me, holding me, telling me he would take care of me, that he would never leave me. His relief was palpable. I could see it in his shoulders, in his smile, in the way he stopped searching my things and started planning instead. He called Dr. Voss and told him I was deteriorating rapidly. He scheduled the competency hearing for the following week. He even started packing my bags for the facility, humming while he folded my clothes into a small suitcase. I let him. I watched him. And I waited for the perfect moment. It came on a Saturday night. Derek had been drinking, celebrating his impending victory with a bottle of expensive scotch he couldn't afford. I sat in the living room, wrapped in a blanket, my eyes vacant, my voice soft and childlike. Derek, can I ask you something? He turned, his face flushed with alcohol and triumph. Of course, sweetheart. Anything. Why do you love me? I'm so broken. So sick. I don't understand why you stay. He sat down next to me, his arms sliding around my shoulders. I could smell the scotch on his breath, the cologne he always wore, the faint scent of lies that I had never noticed before. Morgan, he said, his voice thick with fake emotion. I love you because you're mine, because we've been through so much together, because I promised to take care of you, and I always keep my promises. But I'm so much work, I whimpered, burying my face in his shoulder. The pills, the doctors, the episodes. It must be so hard for you. It's not hard, he said, and I felt his grip tighten. It's an investment, a necessary step. And soon, Morgan, very soon, everything will be different. You'll be somewhere safe, somewhere you can't hurt yourself. And I'll be right here, taking care of everything, the house, the money, all of it. You'll never have to worry about anything ever again. I pulled back, looking up at him with tears in my eyes. The house? But Grandma left it to me. It's mine. He laughed, a soft, cruel laugh that I had never heard before. Was yours, Morgan? Was. But you can't take care of it. You can't take care of yourself. The court will see that. Dr. Voss will see that. And then it will be mine. Ours, I mean. I'll take care of it for both of us. Just like I take care of you. And the pills? I asked, my voice barely audible. The ones that make me see things? The ones that make me forget? Are those to help me too? His eyes narrowed. Just for a second. Just a flicker of suspicion. But the alcohol and the victory were too strong. He was too close to winning to be careful now. The pills are medicine, Morgan. They keep you stable. They keep you from hurting yourself. From hurting others. You know that. But Dr. Voss said I have schizophrenia, I whispered. He said I'm sick. He said I need the pills to be normal. But Derek, I stopped taking them 3 weeks ago. And I feel fine. I feel better than fine. I feel clear. I feel real. So if the pills are medicine, why do I feel sick when I take them? And why do I feel better when I don't? The silence that followed was absolute. Derek's face went through a dozen emotions in the span of a heartbeat: confusion, realization, fear, and finally, rage. Pure, unfiltered rage. You little bitch, he hissed, his hand shooting out to grab my wrist. His grip was iron, painful, nothing like the gentle touches he had used for 3 years. You think you're clever? You think you've figured it out? Do you have any idea what you've done? Do you have any idea what's going to happen to you now? Tell me, I said, my voice steady, my eyes clear. Tell me what happens now, Derek. Tell me about the LSD. Tell me about the DMX. Tell me about Dr. Voss and the competency hearing and the guardianship. Tell me how you plan to steal my grandmother's house and leave me in some facility until I died. Tell me everything, Derek. Because I want to hear it from your mouth. He stared at me, his chest heaving, his eyes wild. And then he laughed. A hard, bitter laugh that echoed through the empty house. You want to hear it? Fine, I'll tell you. 3 years, Morgan. 3 years of my life. Wasted on you. 3 years of pretending to care, pretending to love you, pretending to be the devoted husband while you drooled and stumbled and saw things that weren't there. Do you know how hard that was? Do you know how much I hated touching you, kissing you, listening to your pathetic little fears? The house, I said, ignoring his words, ignoring the pain they caused, because they were just words, just more lies from a man who had never told the truth. Tell me about the house. The house is worth $2 million, he spat. 2 million, plus the trust fund, plus the land, and it's all going to be mine. The competency hearing is on Tuesday. Dr. Voss will testify that you are unfit. I'll be appointed your guardian. And then, Morgan, then you'll have an accident. A tragic accident. Maybe you'll overdose on your medication. Maybe you'll fall down the stairs. Maybe you'll just disappear. And I'll be the grieving widower, the devoted husband who tried so hard to save his poor, sick wife. And Dr. Voss? What's his cut? 50,000. Plus he gets to write a paper about your case, a groundbreaking study on early-onset schizophrenia. He's been using you for research, Morgan. Every session, every episode, every pill. It's all data for his precious paper. You're not a patient to him. You're a lab rat. Just like you're not a wife to me. You're a means to an end. I smiled. A small, cold smile that made Derek's rage falter for just a moment. Thank you, Derek. That's exactly what I needed to hear. I reached into my robe pocket and pulled out my phone. The screen was black, but the red recording light was on, had been on for the entire conversation. Derek's eyes went wide, his face draining of color as he realized what I had done. You can't. That's not admissible? I finished for him. Actually, it is. In this state, one-party consent is all that's required, and I consented. I consented to every word you just said, every confession, every threat, every detail of your disgusting little plan. The front door burst open. Marcus Stone walked in, followed by 2 police officers and Paige, her face a mask of fury and relief. Derek scrambled backward, his eyes darting around the room like a trapped animal. "This is entrapment," he screamed. "She set me up. She's crazy. She's schizophrenic. You can't believe anything she says." "Actually, Mr. Hale," Marcus said, his voice calm and deadly, "we can. We have the recording. We have the drug evidence. We have the emails between you and Dr. Voss. And we have Mrs. Hale's clean toxicology report, which shows no trace of the medications you claimed she was taking. In fact, the only substances in her system are the LSD and DMX you were feeding her. Would you like to explain that?" Derek didn't explain. He ran. He bolted for the back door, but the police officers were faster. They tackled him in the kitchen, his face hitting the tile with a satisfying crack. As they cuffed him, he twisted his head to look at me, his eyes burning with hatred. "This isn't over, Morgan. I'll get out. I'll find you. You'll rot in prison," I said, my voice steady, my head high. "And Dr. Voss will be right there with you. Marcus already sent the evidence to the medical board. His license is gone. His reputation is gone. And you get to spend the next 20 years thinking about how a woman you thought was crazy outsmarted you. How does that feel, Derek? How does it feel to lose?" He screamed something as they dragged him away, but I didn't listen. I was done listening to Derek Hale. The trial was 6 months later. Derek and Dr. Voss were tried together, their conspiracy laid bare for the world to see. The recording was played in court. The drug evidence was displayed. The emails were read aloud, every damning word. Dr. Voss lost his medical license before the trial even ended. Derek was convicted of attempted murder, drugging, financial fraud, and conspiracy. He got 18 years. Dr. Voss got 12. I sat in the courtroom every day, Paige on one side, Marcus on the other. I didn't cry when the verdict was read. I didn't smile. I just sat there, quiet and still, feeling something I hadn't felt in 3 years. Free. After the trial, Marcus helped me file a civil suit. I sued Derek for every penny he had stolen, every bill he had paid with my money, every cent of my grandmother's trust fund he had drained. The court awarded me damages that would keep me comfortable for the rest of my life. Not that I cared about the money. I cared about the principle. I cared about justice. I moved back into my grandmother's house. I threw away every pill, every bottle, every reminder of the poison Derek had fed me. I reconnected with Chelsea and my old friends from the bookstore. I went back to work, part-time at first, then full-time. I started writing again, something I had loved before Derek convinced me I was too sick to hold a pen. And I started helping others. I joined a support group for survivors of domestic abuse, particularly medical abuse and gaslighting. I shared my story. I listened to theirs. I learned that I wasn't alone, that there were others out there who had been through what I had been through, who had survived what I had survived. And together, we healed. It's been 2 years now. 2 years since that night in the living room when I looked into Derek's eyes and saw the monster he really was. 2 years since I took back my life, my mind, my home. I still have bad days. I still wake up sometimes, my heart pounding, convinced I'm back in that fog, convinced the clarity is just another hallucination. But then I open my eyes and I see the sunlight streaming through my grandmother's curtains, and I hear the birds in the garden. And I know I'm real. I know I'm sane. I know I'm free. Derek sends me letters from prison sometimes. I don't read them. I burn them unopened, watching the paper turn to ash, watching his words disappear into smoke. He doesn't deserve my attention. He doesn't deserve my fear. He deserves exactly what he got: a cage, a number, a life defined by the woman he tried to destroy. And me? I get to define my own life now. Every day, every choice, every breath. I am Morgan Hale. I am a survivor. I am a fighter. And I am finally, gloriously, irrevocably free. If you or someone you know is experiencing domestic abuse or medical gaslighting, please reach out. There are resources. There are people who believe you. There is help. You are not crazy. You are not alone. And you deserve to be free. Thank you for listening to my story. If it resonated with you, please like this video, subscribe to my channel, and share it with someone who might need to hear it. Every share could save a life. Every voice matters. And remember, no matter how dark it gets, the truth always finds its way to the light. This is Morgan Hale signing off. Stay strong, stay safe, and never let anyone tell you who you are